Well, AMD haters, will you look at this? You know, I've been posting videos on this channel religiously now for the last 4.5 months, give to take. This channel is still semi brand new, so for all of you watching, thank you so much. Please bear with me because I actually officially have a head cold now, so my head is not doing so well, but hey, the market's actually doing pretty well today, and AMD shareholders, woo! For the win. Hold on. Guys, stay hydrated. Like I said, if you've been following me on this channel for the last couple months, I've been very much bullish on AMD. Why have I been bullish on AMD? For several reasons. Because I do remember AMD stating, and make sure you check out yesterday's video as well. If you are a SoFi bull, you're going to enjoy that one primarily. I did buy the SoFi dip yesterday. Made a fairly lengthy video late last night talking about it. Today is primarily going to be about AMD, but don't worry, I'll talk a little bit about SoFi later on in this video here. I'm going to try to keep this video under maybe 17 minutes. Let's go ahead and shoot for that because I tend to go over my 15-minute limit. Love you guys so much. Please do me a favor. If you enjoy my content, smash the like button and subscribe for more. Here we go. A couple years ago, AMD said that they are a couple years behind NVIDIA. NVIDIA, they were the first to the party, the chip party. And what happened? Wall Street ate up NVIDIA like crazy. NVIDIA soared to the moon. I believe, honestly, like the vast majority of Wall Streeters, let alone the vast majority of long-term investors, you beyond 10x your money. Beyond 10x your money. That is a tremendous amount of gain in wealth that you could have made investing in NVIDIA. I did not make that much investing in NVIDIA. I traded NVIDIA. I did, honestly, pretty decent. Made well over 5 figures of profits, but I mean, hey, a couple years ago, my mind was very much in a different mindset than it is today. But here's a catch. We're going to be seeing more and more of these companies. You got Meta, you got Amazon, you got Google, and you got so many other companies that are spending a ridiculous amount on capital expenditures, CapEx, which is going to be buying chips to have data centers to grow their AI side of their business, which ultimately should, in theory, grow their cash flow. So therefore, it's an investment. But furthermore, do you believe AI is the future? Because that is the big bet. But here's the catch. Let's go ahead and say AI is not the future, right? Who is going to benefit and who are going to be the losers? Well, obviously, every big company that is spending billions, Amazon 200 billion, Google 180 billion, OpenAI is raising 100 billion. Then you got Meta, which is between, don't quote me on this, but I believe 120 and 130, might be a little less. And I believe that the reason Meta didn't commit to a number is because their stock price has been hit over their CapEx spending. So I believe that Mark is probably going to see how the market pretty much reacts. But I mean, hey, let's go ahead and read this. It's a big day for AMD. Chief Executive Lisa Su, baller, CEO. If you have not seen her in any interviews, you really got to watch them. She doesn't hype her stock just like, well, so here's the thing. Anthony Noto is not hyping his stock. Anthony Noto is crushing shorts in the face because SoFi is tremendously undervalued. Lisa Su is not pumping her stock for the future. It's two different things. SoFi, undervalued. AMD, the future is going to be tremendous. However, Lisa Su, she sandbags just like any other CEO, but she doesn't pump her stock, and she says it how it is, that these companies are going to be coming to AMD's new chips. Because AMD is no longer a couple years behind NVIDIA. A couple years has passed, and AMD is here. Now, let's go ahead and furthermore read this. After the company announces a deal valued at more than $100 billion with Meta Platforms, woohoo! Not to mention OpenAI is going to be purchasing AMD chips at the second half of this year as well, too. That's really big. The companies are expanding their partnership, with Meta agreeing to buy 6 gigawatts worth of artificial intelligence computing power from Advanced Micro Devices, AMD. It is really another example of how the industry is investing big in AI infrastructure right now. Sue says, this is all about having the right technologies and the right partners together, building the AI of the future. AMD shares pop 7%. So, I'm going to go back to what I was saying. Who's going to be the winners? Who's going to be the losers, right? So, here is the reality. Let's say AI is not as big as people think it's going to be, or something ends up going wrong, something ends up happening, and let's just say AI ends up not being what people think it's going to be like in the future. And it's just a cool little add-on that's going to be there for people to use, right? Well, who's going to be losing? Obviously Amazon, obviously Google, obviously Meta, ultimately, because they're spending a tremendous amount of money. And when I say losing, I mean, let's say their CapEx does not increase their overall revenue, right? Because if they're spending more money on these data centers, and the data centers, the chips, are going to be theoretically counting as a tax loss, where they're going to have to depreciate and throw that money on their balance sheet as a loss. But if the revenue doesn't go up, their margins are going to slim down, and the AI bet is not going to be real. Who's going to benefit still? Well, Nvidia has already benefited. Who else? AMD is going to benefit. That's my overall point. So for me personally, as an AMD shareholder, this is really no surprise. I actually talked about this last night in last night's video. So definitely make sure to check that out. But yeah, I mean, Meta is going big with AMD right now, and you're going to see very soon a lot of other companies that are going to be spending a lot on CapEx. They are going to be partnering with AMD, and the market space for Nvidia is going to slow down. Now, I'm not saying Nvidia is going to go bankrupt. I'm not saying Nvidia is going to crash. I'm not saying any of that nonsense. I'm an Nvidia bull. I want Nvidia to soar, because if Nvidia is doing well, my AMD is doing well. I'm a very big believer that instead of hoping for something to fall down so you can profit, that's pretty much the definition of demonic mentality, or Satanism 101, pretty much, right? You hope others fail and you profit. No, I hope everyone is doing well. And if Nvidia is doing well, leading the semis, AMD is going to follow, okay? Once again, we do not need AMD. I, as a shareholder, do not need AMD for the next 3 to 5 years, maybe 6 and longer, for AMD to overtake Nvidia. If that does happen, well, that is going to go down in history as being a legendary play. But then it's going to prove that Nvidia is nothing more than just a regular company. Because a lot of people are saying Nvidia is this amazing, great company. It is, but what about AMD? AMD is an amazing, great company too. So is Nvidia an amazing, great company that just was the first to the party? Because imagine a couple years ago if AMD was not a couple years behind Nvidia. What would have ended up happening? Maybe Wall Street went in on both of them. Maybe there was a lot more diversification. Maybe instead, keep the number simple, you have $100,000 that you want to allocate to semis. Instead of going 100% in on Nvidia, maybe change it up a little bit. Maybe go 50-50 or maybe go 60-40, you know, depending which company you actually like more. A lot of people do that. Obviously, I'm a raging SoFi friggin' bull, but I am an owner of another fintech, PayPal. I got to make a separate video talking about them because there's a lot of stuff happening in the works for that stock, and it could honestly rebound in the very near future. So I mean that's the biggest thing, right? Obviously, if theoretically AMD was not behind Nvidia a couple years ago, you could see a lot of people splitting their positions. So right now, what is basically pretty much going to happen? Well, we just had earnings for AMD. It was a triple beat. It was phenomenal. But in the earnings, a lot of shareholders, or rather Wall Street, did not like how the second half of the year is going to be big because that's when their new chips are basically going to be in production and unveiling. So there's going to be a lot of it's a couple things can happen. One, buy the rumor, sell the news. We can go ahead and see a tremendous rally maybe into like the third quarter of the year, second half of the year. And then once a lot of the new chips and stuff is unveiled by AMD, you basically see a sell-off. Not a sell-off to the levels where they started to rally. A lot of people forget this. Keep it simple. Let's say AMD rallies all the way to $300 over the next several months, right? A massive gain, okay? Nearly 50% from where we're trading at right now. And then let's say stuff gets unveiled and they go ahead and sell off by 20%. You're still up from where the initial rally started. Okay, a lot of people really forget about that, but buying the rumor, sell the news, of course it happens. Now, we could very well see pretty much nothing happen with AMD until the second half of the year. And then later in the second half of the year, we go on an epic friggin' SoFi rally like we did back at the end of 2024, where essentially we went up by, I believe it was like 150%, give or take. So sure, we could have an epic rally in AMD at the end of the year. If you're new here, truly welcome. And like I said, if you do enjoy my content, please consider following along, completely free. I'm doing a public account challenge on this YouTube channel, basically taking this sum of money here to 6 figures in the course of 17 months. If the market sells off and I deposit a large sum of more money, $2,500, then it goes down to 16 months. And if the market goes through a doomsday scenario, well, we got a problem in the market, but I'm going to be buying a lot of discounted stock. Then it goes down to a 12-month challenge. The account challenge already officially started January 2nd of this year. So we're already in the account challenge. The account challenge is obviously very much getting kicked in the teeth because a couple months ago, my public profile here was 40... I believe it was 40, 41, 42, might have been 43,000. So definitely have gotten kicked in the teeth, but we've been buying a lot of discounted stock. AMD, a couple months ago, was actually up by over 20%. 20%. I am extremely happy that AMD is my largest position on this profile. Extremely happy. It does not bother me that AMD, along with many of my other stocks, SoFi, I was up over a couple months ago, close to 120%. I don't care. I've been picking up bonus shares of SoFi. I got a massive SoFi position on my private account, along with AMD as well, too. And yes, I do own pretty much like, I did get asked, do I own the same stock on like different profiles? Absolutely. Just in bigger numbers. That's pretty much about it. But the stocks I talk about on this channel and this profile, I'm also buying also on my private account as well. Except for SoFi, I got 1,642 shares. Initially, it was a 1,500 share full-size position. The market just kept sending SoFi lower, and I kept picking up discounted shares. So, I mean, yeah, you're a long-term investor? Sure. Obviously, I did not pick up any more AMD shares here under $200, but I will say this, and this is honestly where I'm going to be sticking to my guns here. If AMD, for whatever reason, and this is the hilarious thing right here. If AMD goes below $200 again, which for all I know, AMD could very well go below $200, but if it goes below $200, I'm going to be buying AMD shares on this account, even though I have a massive position. Obviously, the last couple days, I've been buying SAS and also SoFi shares as well, too. Last week and the week before, I was buying Robinhood as well. And also more SAS, too. Software, Adobe, Palantir. But I really do feel that AMD is on its last leg down. And the reason I say that is because more and more deals are going to be coming out. You got OpenAI. They're going to be coming through. OpenAI, it looks like they're already fully raised their money. They're taking in a tremendous amount of investment from, ironically, NVIDIA. Amazon is also investing, and many other companies as well, too, let alone people. So once OpenAI comes through with their promise, because when OpenAI said we're gonna buy AMD chips on the screen, this gap ended up happening. This was because of OpenAI back in October. OpenAI back in October committed, and AMD soared to all-time highs. Now, we ended up retesting this all-time high back in January. Did not hold at all. But if AMD goes below $200 again on this account, I'm going to be a buyer. But here's the realistical thing about it, and the hilarious thing. AMD right now, in my opinion, is still a buy. AMD right now at all-time highs at $260-something, it's a buy. Why? Why is it a buy? Because for the next 3 to 5 years, this stock is going to go on a tear, and the growth rates are going to be more than the Mag 6s. The growth rate is going to be more than NVIDIA. Oh, yeah. A lot of people are very much aware of this. A lot of people are very much aware that it's either going to happen at the end of this year, or it's going to happen sometime maybe earlier. Maybe things escalate, maybe Q3. But there's going to be a time, maybe this year, good chance. If not this year, it's probably going to happen next year, where the growth rates are going to slow down for NVIDIA. It doesn't mean the company's bad. Don't get me wrong. But AMD's growth rates are going to be accelerating like crazy. I put out a SoFi video that actually got a lot of views for a price prediction. I'm going to be making probably this Saturday a price target for AMD based on fundamental analysis. I'm not doing some crazy, stupid bull crap. Fundamental analysis, okay? 101. That's what I did for SoFi. And my bull case for SoFi is anywhere, honestly, between the high 40s to the low 50s at the end of this year. However, if we have geopolitical nonsense, that is a big game changer, okay? Fundamental analysis, the stock is undervalued for SoFi. Now, for AMD, I'm going to be doing fundamental analysis probably this Saturday. Yes, we're over 17 minutes. I'm sorry. So stay tuned for that video. But AMD shareholders understand that this stock is going to make you a lot of money, okay? And if you have like a couple, keep it simple. If you have a couple $100, you can turn that very well into a thousand, four figures. You can go from 3 to 4. You can go from 4 to 5. You can go from 5 to 6 with an investment of like AMD for the next several years. And I'm a big believer in doing your own due diligence and understanding that it doesn't matter what value of money that you have. There are people that are more than likely watching me that probably have, combining my private and public account, probably well beyond my entire net worth as well too. But it all comes down to following a strategy and following a game plan. Believe it or not, millionaires, they screw up their profiles more than you can imagine. Okay? Like, there's a lot of really negativity in the stock market atmosphere because people think that, like, hey, people with like 7-8 figure profiles, they have this great different strategy. They're just playing with a different number. That's it. And realistically, I feel extremely confident that my market value of 9,000, it keeps bouncing 9 to 80, 89, 999. It's going to be going a double up, and then we're going to see even more of a double up, and it's going to make me a tremendous amount of wealth. So I'm very confident about AMD. Stay tuned for that video this weekend. If you enjoy my content, like I said, subscribe here. A closing note for SoFi Bulls. Remember your game plan and remember every